Welcome to this web lecture on integrating safety into your innovations. My name is Corinke Smit and I work as Policy Advisor on Environmental Safety and Research and Innovation at the Dutch National Institute for Public Health and the Environment, one of the partners in the PRISMA project on responsible research and innovation in industry. In this lecture, I will introduce you to the concept of safe by design, and I will explain how safe by design relates to ROI, why safe by design is so important for doing research and innovation, and how you can integrate safe by design into your innovations. Safe by design is especially important when you are working on emerging technologies, such as nanotechnology, the Internet of Things, synthetic biology, or self-driving vehicles. In fields such as these, many uncertainties exist. When this is the case, it is especially relevant to anticipate risk from the very first stage in your research and development process onwards. Which risks might emerge in the context of your work, in the product that you're working towards, or in specific contexts of application which your product might be used in. Integrating safe by design in your workflow helps you do so. To help you on your way towards practicing safe by design yourself, I will show an example of what it could look like and introduce a simple tool that helps you think about risks and safety. Do you know who this man is? Good chance you don't. However, Thomas Midgley was a very successful inventor in the first half of the 20th century, most certainly in terms of the market share of his innovations and the profit he made. Thomas Midgley Jr. was probably the most accidentally dangerous man who has ever lived. Midgley was an American inventor. He helped create two of the most seemingly innovative and useful products the world has ever seen. CFCs, the stuff we used to put in refrigerators and spray cans, and leaded petrol. Both innovations, as you will probably know, have made devastating impacts on humans and our environment. Midgley's infamous inventions continue to impact on generations after his death. Now our question is, in a world hungry for innovations, how can we avoid making similar mistakes? Let us briefly inspect Midgley's history with leaded fuel for that. Midgley worked at General Motors, which at the time was only a small company. When he started there, people were working on the problem of engine rattling. After several attempts at finding a solution to this problem, Midgley finally found that adding lead to gasoline did the trick. With this, rattling was a thing of the past, and mileage was somewhat improved. And so GM's patent Atyl was born. Of course, we know now the price of adding lead to fuel. Midgley's work contributed to the fact that for some 50 years, hundreds of millions of cars belched out lead-heavy exhausts over the world. This had a huge detrimental impact on both the environment and human health, and especially children's health. Could this not have been foreseen? Why did Midgley and GM invest so heavily in this? The cynical truth is that everybody knew about the toxicity of lead, but no one did anything to prevent its use in fuel. Apparently, simply because so many were making a profit out of it. And to make it more cynical, even at that time, people knew there was a less toxic bio-based alternative solution to rattling, ethanol. The problem with that was, it couldn't be patented, unlike leaded fuel. Clearly, safety for people and planet wasn't prioritized as highly as profit. Today, we're still thinking about fuels. Climate change and environmental pollution are contemporary drivers behind innovative ways of ridding our economies of fossil fuels and their pollution. Now, what can we learn from the case of Midgley's leaded fuel that can help improve our innovations? Midgley's work offered a technical solution to a technical problem that was only interesting economically. With his focus on technology and economy, other considerations were not taken into account. A more reflective, anticipating and adaptive approach to innovation with an eye for potential negative consequences of technologies might have led to a different product design, a less polluting one. In our society today, we're facing many complex and urgent challenges concerning health, environment, mobility and energy. Opening up to the world and paying attention to the variety of changes we are facing can help in making innovations more responsible. Innovations that are morally acceptable and environmentally sustainable and without negative impact on our health, and that allow you to make a profit. The question now becomes how to incorporate all such values in your innovation workflow. Often innovation trajectories are divided in a number of phases. There is the phase of the first idea, when one's first ideas emerge and are shared. Then follow the phases of conceptualizing, of developing one's concept, and of validating it in actual use. Finally, then there is the phase of production and product launch. Looking at innovation as a process with several distinct and concrete steps or phases allows you to integrate the different elements of responsible research innovation into your innovation pathway. Nice and simple as such a model of innovation might look, we all know that the real world is complex, much more complex than this module suggests. In fact, the development of technologies is a complex and iterative process. The output and knowledge obtained during one phase is often not simply the input for the next phase. Sometimes it tells you that adjustments are needed in a previous phase. To get where one is going, iterations are needed. Now let's return to the connection between responsible research and innovation and integrating safety into your work. As we see it, in essence, ROI is about putting values at the center of your work in research and innovation, anticipating possible impacts and taking into consideration all pertinent voices. Safety for environment and human health is such a value that should be addressed in all innovations. Safe by design then is about translating the value of safety first into norms. What level of safety do we find acceptable? And then, subsequently, translating these norms into design requirements. How can we achieve this level of safety? Sometimes this can be a rather complex thing to do. For instance, when safety regulations lag behind technological developments, the relevant safety norms can't simply be respect legal requirements. In such case, reflecting on what risks might emerge can be quite difficult. More on translating values into design requirements can be learned from Ibo van der Poel's web lecture on this topic. For now, it is important to emphasize that Safe by Design is all about putting the value of safety first in your innovations. This concerns not just environmental and health risks, but also, for instance, worker safety and risk perception. If you think of implementing Safe by Design, you have to realize that timing is of crucial importance. The so-called Collingridge dilemma explains why this is the case. At early stages of development, societal, moral or safety impacts of technologies cannot be easily predicted. Such predictions only get better as technologies mature, are more widely used and get entranced. But changing technologies becomes even more difficult as technology are further entranced. For instance, if you want to act on leaded fuels' risks to the environment and health after it has become the dominant fuel on the market, this comes at huge cost both in terms of health, environment and economy. Costs that would better have been avoided by designing a safe fuel in the first place. Safe by Design stimulates innovators to anticipate impacts better and avoid costs for future generations. To anticipate impacts, one should reflect on pertinent risks during all phases of the iterative trajectory of developing innovations and engage the views and expertise of all relevant stakeholders in doing so. For a concrete illustration of the types of design choices one might make if one engaged in Safe by Design, we refer you to a video clip made by RiskBytes on how Safe by Design was implemented in sunscreens containing nanoparticles. This animation shows that incorporating Safe by Design into your innovation can help you develop safe innovations that are economically interesting. With this, I would like to finish up this introduction to Safe by Design. You know now what Safe by Design is, how you can incorporate it in your innovation workflow, and how it relates to responsible research innovation. Indeed, Using the very process dimensions of RI when thinking about the risks and safety of your innovations can help you develop profitable products that are safe for people and planet.